Hey, this is Brian with ActiveMelody.com. Well, for this week's guitar lesson, we have a really cool rock blues type lead, but it's going to be building towards a crescendo. That's really what the whole point of this is. You start low and then you're working towards something. A lot of times guitar players will come right out of the gate with something big, and you're missing the whole point. So how do you start something low? There's also some spacey stuff that's happening. It's all played over a reggae sounding jam track. A lot of cool ideas. The really cool thing though, just 5 notes. All of this is played out of the minor pentatonic scale, so it's not difficult to follow along. So in this video, we're going to take a look at the first half. If you'd like to watch the second half, download the tablature, download the MP3 jam tracks, which I have in multiple tempos. Get all of that stuff. You can get it by going to ActiveMelody.com, go to the weekly lessons page, and do a search for EP335. Alright, so we're going to cover a lot of material in this week's lesson, but by the end of this, you're going to have a whole bunch of new ideas that you can apply to your lead playing. And this stuff is really not that difficult. We're going to be playing out of the minor pentatonic scale, 5 notes. Everything that you heard in the intro was played off of 5 notes. We're just repurposing them in different places. The other thing we're going to be doing is working on dynamics. So starting low, building towards something. So a big crescendo, something dramatic. And that's what a lot of lead players tend to leave out or forget. A lot of times I'll hear somebody playing their lead and they come out of the gate really big, which is fine, but then you have nowhere to go from there. And so this is starting very low on the neck, low notes, and we're going to build up towards something, which just gives it a more dramatic feel. So that's kind of the goal here. Now let me talk about tone setup, because I always get questions on that. I'm not going to go into super detail, but I will just say that well, first of all, I'm playing through the Kemper Profiler, and that's why I don't go into detail, because I realize not everyone has one. You don't need one. You can get the same effect with a guitar, any guitar amp, and then you might need, well, you will need a pedal if you want to get that rotary speaker sound. So you can hear the shimmer in the sound there. Now you can get something close with a tremolo pedal, but that has a little bit more of like a Leslie cabinet type feel, and that's just a setting that's built into the Kemper. Now why did I choose that sound for this? Well, I don't know. I was just kind of playing around. I had some overdrive, and then I added the rotary speaker, and I just thought it had kind of a spacey sound, which is kind of what I was going for. So anyway, that's what I'm using. Now I'm actually going to dial the gain back when I go through the lesson material, just to make it a little easier to understand what I'm saying. But that's what I was using for that. So this song then is played in the key of B, and we're going to be playing off of 3 chords in this first video. And so those chords are basic chords. We have a B minor, we have an A, and an E chord. And when I played it, I gave it kind of a reggae feel. I wanted a reggae sounding backing track, which sounds like this. So it's got that B minor, A, E, and I just kept doing that over and over again. And that's what we're going to be playing over 3 chords. It's pretty basic in that respect. So it's interesting to me that the minor pentatonic scale works so well over reggae. You would think that you would require some different type of scale for that, but you don't. The minor pentatonic scale works over reggae, it works over country, blues, rock. That's why so many people are always talking about it, and you hear me talk about it so much. It's my go-to scale for everything. And then if I needed to add to that, I might add a note here or there and go into mixolydian mode or the major scale or whatever, but that's where I start. It's always that minor pentatonic scale. So the first thing that I played was just playing off the chord shape. So remember, we have a B minor, an A, and an E chord. And when I'm improvising over something, the first thing I like to do is get my bearings. So I like to know what chords we're playing over. So I found the B minor chord. Now I'm playing it down here, then the A chord, and then the E chord. And when I played, and this is the first thing that we're going to learn here, I played like this. Now what is that? That's just the B minor, the A, and then the E. Actually I threw in that note to make it an E7 chord, but that's all I'm doing is playing those right off of those chord shapes. So let me show you how to play this first thing. So I'm playing a B minor chord here. That's where you bar on the 2nd fret, and then these 3 fingers make up the A minor chord shape. So if you think of the A minor down in 1st position, and slide it up 2 frets, bar where the nut was, you're now playing a B minor. And so what I did was I took my middle finger off. I started on the 4th string and went 4, 3, 2, and then added my middle finger to that 3rd fret 2nd string. Now what is that? Hear how that right there is that kind of spacey sound I was going for. And that's just a sus2 chord. So every chord has a sus2 and a sus4. Sus, S-U-S, stands for suspended. A suspended chord is just a chord that doesn't resolve. It's suspended in air. It needs to go somewhere. So when you hear, it leaves you uneasy because it doesn't resolve. But as soon as I add that 3rd, and the 3rd is what's missing, and that's why it's not resolved. As soon as you add that 3rd, then it's like, okay, it's a minor chord. Had I added the non-flatted 3rd, it would resolve, that sus2 would resolve to a major chord, which would be the B major chord. So the sus chords are neither major nor minor. But that's why I like to use them. They're easy to play. You can see all I'm doing is I'm barring, and then I've got my ring finger and my pinky on the 4th fret, strings 4 and 3. So if you're ever playing something and you want kind of a spacey, out-of-the-box kind of sound very easily, and it doesn't have to just be a minor chord either. This would work over a major or a minor. But just find that chord shape. There's the A chord or the A minor chord shape, and then omit the 3rd. You hear Eddie Van Halen doing that quite a bit. If you listen to a lot of Van Halen, you'll hear those sus chords. He's always playing those. Okay, so that's the first thing. Then I hit the chord like that. And by the way, I'm going to play along with a jam track here in a minute, just so that we can get our bearings and get our timing down. That's the first thing. Then I went to the A, just hit it once. That's just barring the first 4 strings on the 2nd fret, playing strings 5, 4, 3, and 2. And then to the E chord. Now all I'm doing is I'm playing the E chord, but I'm starting on the 3rd string, and I take my index finger off and I do the hammer on to the 1st fret, 3rd string. Do an upstroke on strings 1 and 2. Actually, you don't even need those other 2 fingers. You can just play those. You can play it like that. And then I came down here to that 3rd fret, 2nd string. Let me get the right tone. So now when I came to that, that would be your E7 chord. So it gives it that kind of bluesy sound. But that's all I'm doing is playing off the E chord. So you can see I played off the B minor, the A, and the E. So from the beginning we have 1 and 2. Now, for those of you that are premium members, you'll have access to not just the part 2 video for this, but the jam track and then the tablature. And that's really the best way to get timing down. But let me go ahead and play along with a slow version of the jam track so that you can hear when I come in on that, and it'll start to make sense here. Alright, so far we're just playing off the chord shapes. We're not even thinking about scales yet. So we're just trying to kind of feel out the song. So the second time through, I went and did the same thing. I went back to that B sus2 chord, and I played that again. So I'm making that chord shape, and then I play strings 4, 2, 3, 1. And I thought just by changing the order there of the notes I'm playing out of that chord, it gives it a different feel. Then we go back to the A, and what's after the A? Well, we go to the E. But instead of me just playing the E down here, which I could have done, I went and played it up here. It's a different voicing for the E. And so that's my middle finger on the 4th fret 3rd string and my ring finger on the 4th fret 1st string. And I use my pick on the 3rd string, my ring finger on the 1st string. Now what is that? Well, that's just another voicing for E. And this is why the caged system is so important, because you know that you've got an E chord here, and then you've got one up here. That's using that D chord shape. So if you think of your D chord and you move it up 2 frets, but I'm only playing strings 3 and 1. And so that's what I did just to go to that E part. Instead of me playing the E chord here, I wanted to give it a different feel. So we have those 2 parts now. Okay, so then the next thing, so the song just repeats. It goes back to the B minor, And now I'm going to think scales. So now I'm getting into scale mode. So the first thing that I played here was... and that's all played over that B minor chord. And let me show you how to play it, then I'll explain how to think about it. So I'm starting on the 2nd fret, 2nd string, and I'm pushing that note sharp. So I'm coming up, but I'm not doing a full bend, I'm doing a half bend. I'm coming up to the 3rd fret, 2nd string. That's the note I'm trying to match. Release it, 4th fret, 3rd string, 2nd fret, 3rd string. So we have, and then there's a slide from the 3rd fret, 4th string up to the 4th fret, and then my index finger goes down on the 2nd fret, 3rd string. So all together that goes. Now what is that? Well, okay, so that's the minor pentatonic scale, pattern 4. Those are the notes that you need to know for this. So look at those notes. That would be pattern 4 of the minor pentatonic scale, but here will be your aha moment, your big connection point. So connect pattern 4 to that chord shape. This was an eye-opener for me when I realized this, but if you look at that minor chord shape, which is just a standard minor chord shape, and then you see pattern 4 of your minor pentatonic scale, you can see how that minor chord lives in minor pentatonic scale pattern 4. So now if I'm ever playing this chord shape, I can quickly come in there and throw in some fill licks, some blues licks. I could start my lead from that chord shape, or however you want to think about it. So when I started that, that note, that's actually the only note in this entire solo that's not in the minor pentatonic scale. So I lied a little bit when I said there's 5 notes. In this case, we're going outside of the box and we're going into the minor scale. So the minor scale, you can add 2 notes to your minor pentatonic scale to get the minor scale. It depends on how you want to look at it, but that's what I'm doing. So that first note is in the minor scale, but it's also in the bar of when I'm making that minor chord shape. So you can remember that going forward if you're playing a D minor. Right? You've got that nice minor lick that lives right off of that chord shape. Okay. Now after that, I went back to the A chord, and I played 4-3-2, and then back to that same E lick, just like we did before. Then I come to the 3rd fret, 2nd string, and then I took my finger off and hit the open B string, or the open 2nd string. And then I met that same note by sliding into it from the 2nd fret up to the 4th fret on the 3rd string. Now what's going on there? Now I'm thinking outside of chord shapes, and I'm thinking scale. I'm thinking minor pentatonic scale. The scale I just mentioned to you, pattern 4. So I slid right into that. Now I'm ready to play some lead stuff out of that chord shape. But all of that was a setup in a way to get us into playing the lead stuff. Now all of this is lead. It depends on how you look at it. But I thought of the first 2 times through as just sort of playing off the chord shapes, kind of getting my bearings, and now I'm ready to kind of start a proper lead where we go into single strings and we're thinking lead mode, scales, and all of that. Let me back up from the beginning now. We'll play through everything up to that point with the jam track. Now remember, that's the slow version of the jam track. I've got 2 versions. I've got that slower version and then the normal tempo. Okay, so we ended here with that 4th fret 3rd string. Now after that I went, just reiterated that note. So 4th fret 3rd string, 3rd fret 2nd string, back to the 4th fret 3rd string. So, and then after that I went, and this has got kind of a Gary Clark type feel to me for some reason. And so what I'm playing for that is the 5th fret 2nd string, I'm hitting the note, I'm bending it, doing a full bend, and then a release. And then the 3rd fret 2nd string. But when I hit that, I pushed it sharp. I think that's what gives it that Gary Clark feel to me. I hear him doing that quite a bit. And then back down to the 4th fret 3rd string. So, and then I think I trailed off with a little note there, which would be the 3rd fret 2nd string. All right, so let's back it up. We'll take it from the E. Okay, now after that, now you can see what's going on here. I'm playing the same notes, but I'm playing them in a different position. We're moving up from pattern 4, we moved past pattern 5, and we're moving into pattern 1. Now, why am I moving into pattern 1? Because I have in the back of my head, I'm building towards a crescendo. There's another part to this song, which goes into the G chord, which will actually be in the part 2 video. But that's where this thing builds, and so I'm holding back. I'm not hitting any of those real high notes that would be so easy to go to, but I'm holding back. So a lot of playing lead is holding back and knowing when to hold back and how long to hold back. Don't say it all up front. Just save your good stuff. All right, so that next lick goes. Now what I'm doing for that is I'm sliding from the 5th fret 2nd string up to the 7th fret 2nd string, hitting that twice, and then there's a pull off that happens between the 6th fret and the 5th fret on the 2nd string, and then my ring finger goes down on the 7th fret 3rd string. And then back to the 5th fret 2nd string, and then we're going to slide up to the 9th fret 3rd string and match that same note. And what I just did there was I went into pattern 1 of the minor pentatonic scale for B. So from the start of this lick we have, and then I'm going to play, so that's 7th fret 3rd string, 9th fret 4th string twice. So, and that's what that lick looks like. And what I'm doing there is I'm going into pattern 5 here, and then all the way up to pattern 1. So remember, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. So after 5, it loops back to 1 in terms of the pattern numbers. Those pattern numbers are actually irrelevant. It's just the same 5 notes repurposed. In fact, we could take this whole lead and play it all up in pattern 1. I could have went, see? Same notes. Anyway, I'd have to think it through, but that's what I'm doing, is I'm playing the same notes, but you get a different dynamic by sliding up from here, up to here, up to here, because of what it allows you to do is have those top end strings when you're ready for them. They're in reserve there. They're not in reserve when you're playing down there. You don't have anywhere high to go. So I'm working up. All right, so let's learn one more lick here, and then we'll play along with the jam track and put it all in context. The thing after this was, that has a really nice sound. It almost sounds like a big brass section or something. This is a great takeaway lick, and what I'm doing for that, I'm just minor pentatonic scale pattern 1, but I'm borrowing the first 3 strings on the 7th fret, and I'm playing strings 2 and 3, but I'm doing a hammer on to the 9th fret 3rd string. And then so I do that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then take my ring finger off, play strings 2 and 3 on the 7th fret without it, and then down to the 9th fret 4th string. All right, let me put on a slow version of the jam track. We'll play it up to that point, and then we've got one more lick that we'll go through in this video. All right, so this last lick we're going to learn in this video is this repeatable lick that you can use over and over again. I played through it 4 times when I was doing it with the jam track, and I did that just to really kind of hit home the point of how repeatable the lick is. It works over and over again. Doesn't matter what the chords are, doesn't matter. We're just playing in the key of the song. So this is minor pentatonic scale pattern 1, and what I'm playing, that's the lick. Now what most people tend to do is to play and use that first string, but I'm staying off the first string. I'm pretending it doesn't exist yet because I'm holding it for the crescendo, which happens in the next video. So what I'm doing is I'm borrowing the first 2 strings on the 7th fret, and then I've got my ring finger on the 9th fret 3rd string, and I do a full bend there, and then I play the 2nd string behind that 7th fret. So you have, and then I come up here to the 10th fret 2nd string, and then with my middle finger I play the 10th fret 3rd string and do a quick slide back into minor pentatonic scale pattern 1, which would be the 9th fret 3rd string. So you have, then back down to the 7th fret 3rd string, and then down to the 9th fret 4th string. So all together you have, and then to get back into it, to loop it, I go back to the 7th fret 3rd string, and then back to the 9th fret 3rd string, and that's where we start the whole thing over again. So that may take a little practice to get the timing down and get it looping, but you can see that it creates this weird thing with the timing where you're getting ahead of the beat a little bit. Even though you're playing the same 4 notes in the same sequence, when you're playing along with a jam track, it just sort of, it stays in sync, then it gets out of sync, and it comes back in sync, and it just creates a cool sound. There's a lot of licks that work like that, and that's one of them. And I like to use that because you're not playing that top string. You're keeping that in reserve for something bigger and more dramatic. So that's what we're going to cover in this first video. I hope you've got some ideas and some things that you can start to apply to your playing right away. I'm going to back up and play through this along with the slow version of the jam track one more time, and then I'll see you in part 2 where we'll go over the rest of it.